Hi, and welcome to Yosifa's Corner. Today, I am super excited. I have two amazingly fun, smart, and educated school administrators and businessmen that we will interview on today. I am super excited. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. But today, please help me welcome two of my dearest friends, Mr. Ray and Brandon Broughton.
Hey, what's up, everybody? How's everybody doing?
How's it going?
Hey Ray, how are you? If I can get Brandon.
I'm doing great. Thank you for having
There
me.
we are. Absolutely. Brandon, you good?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here.
Great. Well, the opportunity I will submit either you or Ray, whoever would like to go first, to just introduce yourself and tell us who you are. What do you do?
Go ahead, Brandon.
All right, yes, I'll go
Ray.
first. So, my name is Brandon. I currently serve in the role as a resident principal at a charter school here in Houston, Texas. Um, Over my career, I have been a program manager at UT in Austin. I have taught seventh grade for a couple of years. I've been a college counselor, and currently I'm in my role serving as a resident principal, which may equate to like an assistant principal at a school. 3 years ago, I actually had the opportunity to found a new school in Houston. So had the opportunity to like create the culture of the school and being a part of like the construction team and being the part of bringing new students in our community to our school and having opportunity to connect with them and build relationships and do all those great things that educators go in every day to do. So that is where I currently am, and seeing students' faces every day keeps me in education. Seeing them grow, seeing our Black boys and girls have the opportunity to have a great academic experience keeps me grounded every day, and it wakes me up in the morning. So that's why I do this work, and that's what keeps me going every day.
Absolutely wonderful. And we thank you for being here today. Ray.
Once again, my name is Ray Lavan, and I'm currently the proud director of fine arts at Goose Creek CISD, located in Baytown, Texas. My career, actually, I've been in education for 16 years. In that time, I began my educational journey as a band director. I was proud to be the first African American band director at West Orange Stark High School, where I served in that role for 8 years. And then, luckily, two particular gentlemen happened to see something in me that I did not see in myself. And at that point, I was more or less told I was going to be an administrator, and was blessed to become the assistant principal at West Orange Stark Middle School. And that led on a long administrative journey, which led me to be a high school assistant principal, high school academic dean, which is equivalent to like the second in command at a large high school. Then I was blessed to have my own campus as a high school principal. Then I served in the role of director of fine arts at that particular school district. And now I am back here in Baytown as director of fine arts in Goose Creek CISD. I began my journey in education because I desperately wanted to be the adult that I desperately needed when I was a child. And that has driven me to do what it takes to be a safe space and to be a fierce, unapologetic advocate for children and for their needs to establish equity in our schools, and to make sure that every single child has the best possible educational experience possible. So that drives me every single solitary day to do the best that I can. So that way we can help develop not just the students that we deal with, but also the adults that teach them, and to create a positive culture, and just basically be a blessing to anybody and everybody I possibly can. So that's it for me.
Absolutely amazing. Really, I mean, I'm honored to be here with you all today, just to travel with you on your journey because I've watched you from the times I've known both of y'all are like little brothers to me. And I'm so proud of you and the things that you have accomplished, like your climb. And there's so much more in you. So, Brandon, tell me a little bit about
Yeah, so I
Dinah,
actually,
Texas.
yes, I have the opportunity to lead a nonprofit organization called Dinah Texas. We focus on providing artistic activities to students in underserved communities. Those opportunities range from theater arts, where students put on their own theatrical productions, to like visual arts, where our students get to learn disciplines of dance and music and different things like that. And what brings me the most joy is like seeing these activities happen in different communities and schools, the same communities that I grew up in. So knowing that I lived in a zip code that didn't have like a whole lot of money, or our schools weren't like state of the art
Mhm.
like other zip codes, and seeing that students in those zip codes now are having the opportunities that higher zip codes had, it brings me the most joy and it makes me do this work. So we've been like striving and cycling for the last 10 years. I serve on the board of some amazing individuals that do whatever at all costs for students and make sure students are clothed and have the right technology, and students have rides to practice and things like that. And just being a part of that community, being a part of a team that really wants to develop students and bring out the best in our communities makes me happy every day. It brings me joy. And it's ultimately my passion to make sure that our students that look like us have access like other students do in other zip codes in Texas. So that's Dinah, Texas.
Very good, very good, awesome. Speaking about the students and staff, pre-pandemic, COVID, it was high stress levels when we learned that the world was going to shut down, schools were going to shut down. What was going through your mind? How did y'all transition? I know that both y'all are computer inclined, and what was the transition for you? How did you handle those such situations?
Well, I can say this. I had the, looking back at it, the honor, because it did refine me, of being a pandemic principal. I was in my first year as a as a principal at that. So we were blessed to really have a huge culture change on our campus. We had a great deal of academic progress, and had this amazing momentum. We felt unstoppable. We felt fantastic. And then we went on spring break and never came back. So having to figure all of that out as you go, um, it takes those high stress levels because they exist already in campus leadership, and when you deal with people's
Mhm.
greatest treasures, which is their children, and plus you don't deal with a zero defect product every single day. Some people that are blessed to work in a factory or something where you can refine a process and try and churn out the same thing every single day, just constant repetition, and that's a high quality consistent product. But when you're in the people business, because make no mistake, education is the people business. We serve big people and little people, but ultimately we are in the people business.
Mhm.
People are not a zero defect product, especially when you're dealing with children, anywhere from K through 12, that are not emotionally mature enough to be able to deal with some of the harshness of life and some of the things that happen. So then you introduce COVID-19, where now literally it served as the great equalizer. Number one, everybody was all in the same boat because everybody was stuck at home. Everybody was in the same boat because, as something I like to say, everybody became a first year teacher all over again. Everybody became a first year teacher all over again. There's a lot of those the wisdom and experience and applicable experience that you have doesn't mean anything anymore because we're all figuring it out as we go. Or the old adage, you knitting the parachute on the way down, except this time it was kind of on fire.
Right.
So, I mean, just the extremity of what we were dealing with was crazy. And I know one thing that frustrated me as a principal is we would have a virtual meeting, once a week. And that meeting would be very long. It'd be about 3, 4 hours, us literally trying to figure out what we're going to do next. And then maybe an hour or two later, the governor comes on, and the whole landscape has changed again. So now everything we just spent 3 or 4 hours talking about, it's not applicable. We got to throw that out the window. And I can't tell you how many times that happened, Brandon. I'm sure you can appreciate that as well. Just we come up with these solutions, and you want to have the solutions, but no one knows what to do because everything is constantly changing. And I think a blessing of the pandemic is people have really understood just what it takes to be an educator, because you see a lot of people getting really frustrated uh, about trying to teach their own children things. And I made a funny comment one time on my Facebook page. It got a lot of love. I say, well, some of y'all are finding out those people at that school wasn't lying on your baby. Some people learn that the hard way. Uh, they've learned to honor and respect what it is to be an educator, and that's a blessing. The other blessing is the emphasis on mental health and self-care. A lot of people don't deal with it. You're just taught to put your head down and to keep going, but this has forced people to stop and take inventory of their own thoughts, because a lot of people stay busy to not be alone with their own thoughts, but really be able to deal with themselves, deal with their traumas. How do you pass those traumas on? And if you do that, how do you avoid that? What are those triggers? The emphasis on self-care. And the last bullet I would say is the way that we do business as educators has changed forever. It will never be the same. A lot of people want things to go back to normal, and there is no normal anymore. We have a new normal that we have to deal with, and we've evolved into. It's forever changed. So we just have to deal with it. And I think it's forced a lot of those last group of people, that last ditch effort, that are not technology natives, but they're technology immigrants. Because children these days, they were born with access to technology. I'm going to give you an example. How many times do you see a kid? How are they getting occupied? Somebody hands them this, and then you see this, or a tablet, or for us it was the TV. You can't watch too much TV. Go outside, but that's not what kids are getting right now. They get a tablet or mom and dad's phone, and they do this. So they don't know what it's like not to have it. When we do, I remember when this was a flip. I remember when this was about the size of a microwave on the side of your head, and it was in a bag. A lot of people don't remember. A lot of people don't know what that's like to see it develop. But this is nothing. The idea back then, okay, well, you can watch a movie on your cell phone, is crazy. Or some of the last holdouts, there's more computing power in this phone than a lot of our first full-size desktop computers. And it's making some of those people that were resistant to the change and the resistant to the evolution, now they have to embrace it, because there's just no alternative. We have to deal with it. So I think those are 3 of the bullet points that I experienced, among many.
Yeah, I actually resonate with all of those that you shared today, especially the part about sitting there and planning something and thinking that you're on the right track and you have it done. And then we're on a new level of color in our COVID tracker, or we have new COVID restrictions that are placed on us. So we were in the cycle of actually thinking that we're making the best decision for students each day and coming up with these good, innovative plans. And then at the end of the day, it's changed. And when I say day, it's like day by day. But something else that really, really resonated with me was the mental health of teachers and other administrators, and knowing where that we were actually wearing each other down with all of the proactiveness we were trying to show to everyone. And now I feel like a lot of educational departments are in the phase of making sure that we are worried about the human first, and that we're worried about showing up every day and giving our best, but not taking too much from ourselves or our family to be the best that we can for children each day.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I am one of those grandmothers that learn to appreciate the teachers and staff during the pandemic when I had to sit through and help with classwork and log into the computer and do Google Meet and get them assigned for attendance, get their assignments done to upload them. And my grandson, he made all sorts of videos. And I was like, that's not exactly what the teacher said do. He said, but she knows me. She knows that this is what to expect from me. Well, that's not what I expect from you. So do you have like this at school every day? And that was the reality of the pandemic for me, realizing like your grandson needs to learn how to sit down in class because all he want to do is go to recess, drink water, and flex on them is what he turned in on one assignment. So I have a better respect, a high level. Education has always been important here in my household. But for my grandson, he feels like, school is just a place for him to go to meet his friends. As smart as he is, someone needs to, capture his attention. So we help him as much as we can at home. But I'd be happy to see him go to school. I'm sorry, I'd be happy to see him go. And I
Yeah.
appreciate you all for what y'all do, as far as leading a school, because it's not just the students, it's the staff as well. They have children, so they were teaching our kids online and their kids at home. That was
Mhm.
always a double duty.
Mhm.
They always had to leave home and go take care of someone else's kids and come back to where their kids were at home with their homework, but they were all in one community together. And with mental health, it brought on something for the staff as well to see how their kids were responding to the teachers, because their teacher doesn't mean that their kids were going to be a one perfect child as well. But it brought on other conversations. It brought on what was actually going on at school. What were their interests? What did they like? What they dislike? And so those conversations had to start happening in the household during the pandemic. So a quick question, which is um off key a little bit, but as a male role model, the kids are at home most of the time, in school most of the day. What what is your contribution to the kids that absent father, absentee father, not a two-parent household, but when you go to school, your consistency of showing up every day, how do you contribute to these kids seeing a male role model every day, being consistent in their lives? Is there some type of encouragement you give them? Is there like a student that you see that you're always drawn to encourage, to help, and to uplift, to tell them they can do better, they can make it? What is your contribution to those kids?
Yeah, I think that that's really really important in all schools. I think first, as like administrators, one thing we have to think about is like having a diverse staff where students could look up to someone and have a model that actually looks like them every day when they visit the campus. And also creating those transformative relationships where you can have like real talk with young males that look like you to make sure that they're on the right track and that to make sure that the decisions that they are making align to what they want to do in the future. So our one of the joys for me is really having those conversations with our Black male students, um, giving them someone that they can connect to, giving them someone that they could talk to, and then giving them someone that where they feel safe with sharing information that is going on at the school or at home and can really seek advice to make it through the whole day. Because it's kind of weird when you don't have like a Black male teacher. We always, well, when I was growing up, I always wanted like a Black teacher. So having someone that you could relate to at a school is really important for our students. And those conversations, like, make it happen for me each day.
Absolutely. Like some data on that is only 2% of teachers in the entire United States are black males.
Wow.
Only 2%. One experiment that I have, and I challenge anybody watching, if you want proof of this, um, go on, say, any social media outlet and just ask, hey, what was the first grade level you had an African American male teacher?
Mm.
And you'll be shocked. You will be shocked at when that was. Some people never have. I was one of those people. I never had a black male teacher. Now, there were black male teachers on my campus.
Mm.
Shout out to Mr. Jenkins. Way back in the day, Mr. Jenkins was one of the coolest teachers at the school. Everybody wanted to be in his class. I just didn't have that luxury. But from K through college, I did
Oh,
not
wow.
have one, not one. Now, I understand some people go to predominantly African American high schools, middle schools, so there's strong representation there. But representation does matter. And
Yep.
I'm going to tell you a quick story, because this kind of blew my mind the other day. I went to go visit a campus to go, and one of my teachers stopped me. She was at the she had just happened to be at the back door. Great teacher. And she spoke and she directed me where I needed to go. And I was wearing a suit because, I'm at work and this is what we do. We suited and booted. We ready to go. And I saw there was a young man in our class. He just kind of stopped and he looked at me. And I just kind of gave him the little what's up and kept going. Because I looked to see if he was going to talk to me, but he didn't. And then later on, I got a message from this educator, and she told me, man, I got to tell you something. So, okay, what? So his name was such and such, and he's had a lot of behavior difficulties. Like every day he gets in trouble. And he stopped in his tracks when he saw you. And he was like, who is that? And she says, oh, well, that's my boss. He see all the fine arts in this district, he runs all that. So pretty much, things happen because she kind of pumped me up. She gassed me up a little bit to him. And this is all while I'm walking away. I'm walking down the hallway, and he looks like, man, he dripping. Commenting on my suit. For some reason, after that, he made it his first full day without getting in trouble.
Cool.
I didn't talk to this young man. I didn't take any time with him, although I am now that I know. But you just don't understand what representation means to people. Literally, I walked in there to read to a class. I was just wearing a suit. I was just there trying to do my job. And the important thing that we have to remember as role models is that people are always watching. They're always watching, and even the things that you don't think that they see. So it's important to do your very best at all times and do your best to be on point at all times.
Wow. Those are the stories that I appreciate. Those are the stories that are life changing. That student will never forget Mr. Ray Lavan. He will never forget that. He may think at nighttime, like, I want to wear a suit. What type of job can I have that requires me to wear a suit, to look professional?
Yeah.
Because, when you look good, you feel good. And maybe he never seen that, or he hadn't seen it, but maybe on Sundays if they go to church. But to see a black role model walk down the halls, like Mr. Carter, and he running this, you know what Mr. Carter said, and lean on me. I'm not gonna say it, but the person in charge. So it's like amazing. It's life changing, and I know that has to be, rewarding for you to, be able to see it, to embrace it, and to be the person that student looks up to. That's absolutely amazing. So I have one more question, and it's in reference to the Russian and Ukrainian war and how it affects our youth, our staff. Um, is that something that you think is worth talking about? Did you have someone that kept you abreast on what was going on in the world at those ages? And is that something that you would want to have a sit down conversation with the staff and the children? How do you relate to that?
I'm gonna send this one over to you first, Ray.
Okay. I'll say this, and I think there's an issue with my camera. But I'll go ahead and keep going. Well, I'm gonna stop that because I don't want it to freeze on my face like looking ridiculous. One thing that worked for me is I'll say this. A friend of mine has a quote: "You can fool a fool, you can con a con, but you can't kid a kid." So if you think that you can just ignore these things and act like they don't happen and act like there's just nothing to it, you are completely missing the point. So it's important to engage students in conversation whenever they allow themselves that opportunity. So sometimes they'll say, well, hey, what do you think? Our job as educators to be neutral and to deliver facts. It's really easy to take one foot and get on your soapbox and talk about your opinion. But that's not necessarily what we're there to do. We're there to give factual information and to allow our students to take the journey to form their own opinion. I need to give you information and teach you how to formulate your own views. So by ignoring that and say, oh, well, we're not going to talk about that. Well, it's kind of a big deal because literally every time you turn on the television, they're talking about the war or they're talking about the
Right.
conflict in Ukraine. And it opens up a lot of different conversations. One conversation I've seen is how this whole situation relates to the struggle of indigenous peoples. I've seen that related quite a bit,
Yes.
and so many other subjects that can be related to, and open up some meaningful conversations. The thing that we have to be careful of is to satiate their own curiosity appropriately and not try to stand up and talk about our opinions all the time, because we need to teach by design and not by default. And a
Right.
lot of time that default setting is our own opinions. So we have to be very, very careful of that. But other than that, I mean, it just all depends. We just got to wait and see.
Yeah, I actually agree with all of that Ray shared. We haven't had like a moment to like fully discuss what's happening in the Ukraine with all of our staff and students. However, we do practice circles, like student circles, every Thursday, where students have the opportunity to share like what's on their mind. What do they think that is going on with the world? Like, how is it impacting them? And then I reflect and think about like when I was in elementary school and the big tragedy of 9/11 happened, and we saw all of these news articles that were streaming on the TV, or people being picked up early that day, or conversations that parents were having about 9/11 that day. We saw all of this happening, but we were focused on going to recess the next day. We weren't focused on like the big picture or how this could impact our economy or how this could impact the world as a whole. And I think what is really cool now is just giving our students who are really curious and who are really like on social media and on their phone and on TV all the time, giving them the opportunity to actually express what they're thinking, like to ask, how is this going to impact us and how is this going to impact our country? Now that students have like all of these resources where they can just click on Google and see what's happening or who said what or watch a video about a president debate, I think it's great to see how curious they are. And I think like having conversations with them about
Mm-hmm.
what's going on really is prepping them to be the next leaders that we need in the world. If they can have these things in their mind on how to like solve these big wars or how to like be a big impactful person in politics and run for office one day, then that's ultimately what we want. We want leaders to grow up in the schools and actually change the world. So those conversations are needed. That is something that definitely should happen in every campus. And anytime a student is curious about something that is happening in the world, I think having the conversation with them about it and seeing what their opinions are and what they think should happen and how it is impacting them and how they should reflect about it really should happen in every campus nationwide.
Absolutely. I think that is amazing as far as the student circle, being able to give them a voice. And a lot of times we take that away from the students, the young people actually, not having a voice. And it sometimes runs them away from church actually, because it feels like they don't have anything to say, that they don't
Yeah.
have a place because they don't have jobs at the moment. They don't have tithes to give. So what do you have to say? What can you contribute? But these young people can contribute a whole lot more than what we give them an opportunity to present to us. So they are our future. We need to embrace them. I commend you and Ray together. He's having difficulties with the computer right now, but I really commend y'all for everything that y'all have done. I prayed about this, and I know it's been a minute, but the scripture that comes to mind is 2 Corinthians 9 and 8. And I speak blessings over you and Ray both and your staff. And it says, and God will generously provide all that you need. Then you will always have everything you need and plenty left over to share with others. That's the New Living Translation. And I just wanted to speak that over you and Ray, that you will have plenty. I pray blessings over your lives, 100-fold, to return back into what you have given out to others. You always there. Anytime you've been asked to do something, and I appreciate it, and I know your staff does too. They have two amazing administrators walking around that continually educate yourselves, because both you and Ray are continuing on in the school, in education, educating yourself, climbing the ladder as well. And y'all, you're an entrepreneur. You do the pickles and other things that you delve in. So it's a lot of things that you're doing that people are watching, and it's important that we understand and we know that you are an example, you are a role model, and we thank you for coming in to join with Josephus Corner, spending this time with me. I appreciate everything. Thank you so much, and I'll be happy to have you back soon. Thank you. I
Yeah.
applaud you. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. And I really enjoyed this experience. And if I could leave one thing to just like people watching this, it's just to know like their students are in great
Absolutely.
hands. Like people that are teaching, are in education in this climate that we're in right now, they are there because they want to be there. And as much as the days are getting stretched out, and as much as all of the stress about COVID and the environment or what's going on in the world is happening, those staff members still have a passion to do what they do and impact your children. So it's all gonna overcome one day.
Absolutely. Amazing. Amazing. Ray, did you have any closing remarks?
I just appreciate everybody taking the time. Much respect to my brother in education, Brandon. Good to see you. It's been entirely too long, but I'm glad we got made a way today. Um, I just want to echo everything that he said. Right now it's a difficult time to be an educator, and please show respect to those educators because they really are doing the very best that they can. And just like you're stressed on their job, they are too. Just like anyone else that's taking the time for self-care, they are too. And just remember that they're giving of themselves every single day and trying to provide quality experiences to students, trying to give lead and teach with empathy, and still stay, encourage themselves. So if you have a moment today and you have a friend, family member, anyone that's a teacher or an educator of any sort, take a moment and send them a note and encourage them today. I challenge you to do that. And I also challenge you to positively affirm what they're doing, because a lot of times it's a lonely walk when you walk in your purpose. So take the time. You have no idea what that one little note, that one text message, that one sentence interaction will do for somebody one day, because it doesn't happen as often as you think. So I challenge anyone and everyone to do that today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been Josefa's Corner. I applaud you guys. I appreciate you, and we'll see you soon.